Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Top 5 Wednesday, and this week's topic is Top 5 rereads. So Chelsea, start us off.
Okay, I feel like I say this every time, but one of my top favorite rereads is obviously one of my favorite books. It is called The Wayward Tide, and I literally just finished it yesterday. I love this book. I have adored this book since I was 13 years old. And I found it in the library, and I hate libraries, so it's really weird. So this book is kind of like modern Victorian literature, but it's also follows this girl as she kind of grows up in Victorian society, but you get to see the different aspects of the era, just that you would never get to see in normal Victorian fiction. So she grows up in Newfoundland originally, which is so fucking weird, and it's
Canada
like,
proud.
yeah, and it's like originally like part of, like, it's still like part of the British colony, and then she grows up, she goes to England, she ends up going to the States, and so she's on the frontier watching people go to like California and like through the mountains and stuff, and she goes back to England, and you just like see her whole life, and you just her character development and stuff. I find new things every time, and every time I reread it, I love it even more, and it's the most brilliant book. It's called The Wayward Tide by Alison McLeay. You probably have to order it off of like Abe's Books or something, but it is probably one of the best novels I've ever read. So yeah.
Alright, next on the list is one of my personal favorites, and it's been one of my personal favorites forever, and that is The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I seriously reread these books once a year. Like, that is the thing that I do.
She really, really does.
I can, like I've mentioned in a previous vlog, I can kick back The Fellowship of the Ring in 8 hours. Yeah. I can do that. But I don't know what it is about The Lord of the Rings that I love it so much. I mean, the world building, just like the characters, it kind of feels like a myth, and I think that's what it is. The way it's written, it's vague, but it's not vague at the same time. Mm-hmm. So you just get really invested, and there's just so much.
Yeah, and I mean, I reread The Hobbit a lot, or at least I did as a kid. I really loved just how clever it was. I loved just the way the story goes and how epic it kind of feels, even though it's just like this short little narrative of the little Hobbit. So there's just so much to The Lord of the Rings that it's so easy to reread.
I have, okay, this is my crazy. I have 3 different editions of The Lord of the Rings. I have 2 different editions of The Hobbit. I'm in the process of collecting all of the history books. I have a book of essays. I have 2 different editions of The Adventures of Tom Bombadil. And I have graphic novel versions of The Hobbit. And yeah, like, this is something so like near and dear to my heart. And the last Hobbit movie comes out in 2 weeks.
Okay, next on my list is my other favorite book. It is called Lady of Horses by Judith Tarr. I made her read it. It is another one that's really, I don't know, I read it when I was 13, found it in the library, hate libraries. So, I don't know, and I've never found anything good in the library since. So, yeah, this book is about a girl who's growing up in like kind of like prehistoric times where people are still, there's no cities, people are still in tribal systems and tents, and she gets chosen by the horse goddess to be the priestess, but the problem is that women can't even go near the horses. They're not allowed to ride, they're not allowed to like profane the horses in any way, but she is chosen to be this priestess, and she kind of has to do it whether she likes it or not. And so it's about her kind of growing into her power and the people around her, and as she like kind of changes this tribe in the way they're thinking.
It had such a like an interesting view on like religious systems. Like, the one thing that I found really, really fascinating with it is the, like, not regressing, but returning to traditional, like, scary magic, as I would put it. I mean, like, blood magic and all that kind of stuff, like,
yeah.
That blew my mind.
I don't know, I think I was always kind of fascinated by the gender stereotypes that are running around, because there are people who are very traditional and who are kind of keeping her down, but there's also people who aren't, and kind of like are finding ways to like change their thinking. And
I just really like her relationship with the I don't know if it's the chief, his son.
Oh yeah,
that blew my mind as a kid. I was just like, whoa.
I know, because it's a very adult book sometimes.
I don't want to like talk about it because I don't want to spoil it, but
whoa! It was good, and that one
did not go where I expected.
I know, right? So think about me 13 reading that, like,
Mind blown.
And it kind of like informed my soul from then on and just explains who I am as a person.
So if you want to understand Chelsea,
Those two
read The Lady of
books.
Horses. If you want to understand me, read The Lord of the Rings and the next book on our list. I talk about this all the time too. This is like you and the Wayward Tide. Johannes Cabal, The Detective. Second book in what's now a quartet. It's kind of alluded that there's going to be another book coming out. There's a whole bunch of short stories. This guy is my favorite character in the whole wide world. And he is an asshole. Like, there's no other way to put it. He's so driven towards his goal, and I don't know how to say it, like, how do you put this, like, he's
the type of person who's never going to change.
Yeah.
And you know he has a soul in there somewhere, but you gotta really,
You gotta,
wanna
like,
find it.
in the fourth book, when he's talking to one of the characters, and he's just like, you don't understand. I've done good things. Or something. I'm not who you thought I was. He's very sarcastic, and that definitely, even though each book has a very different style, Detective is my favorite. It's kind of the same kind of Victorian, kind of steampunky. They're on this airship, but the sarcastic, dry wit that is in all of these books just comes to the forefront in the second one, because there is some dialogue that I've reread this book multiple times and it still blows my mind. Just like how like on like the retorts and Y-shaped coffin.
It's a lot of fun, but I think why he's the most interesting too is because he's trying very hard not to be a nice person.
Mm-hmm.
It gets in the way of what he wants to do, and so he like tries to stifle his soul, but his soul just kind of keeps creeping up.
Yeah, like his relationship with like the main female character, Leonie Barrow, she kind of forcefully brings out this goodness in him, and he's just like, no, get away from me. Stop making me do good things.
So it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah,
You can't help but enjoy. Yeah. Last on our list is an oldie but goodie. I'm sure there are 1,000 people who can attest to this one. It is Harry Potter. And I don't know what other people did, but when I was a kid at recess,
I did that too.
I read the first one probably like 6 or 7 times, and then I guess the other ones have kind of petered out since.
I reread number 3 the most, actually.
Number 3 was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember, okay, I had the Harry Potter book out of the library. I don't know why. I owned it. And I just didn't want to return it, so I was lazy, and I just kept rereading it. So I read that one the most.
When the 7th book came out, I was like, you know what? I haven't read these books in 8 months. That seemed like a long time. So you know what? The next book comes out in 2 weeks. I'm going to read all 6 of them. I'm going to do it.
Good for you.
Did I do it? Yes, I did.
I wanted to do that.
On top of being a camp counselor.
That's impossible.
I'm like,
I don't believe you.
I impress myself.
I don't believe you.
I impress myself sometimes.
Yeah. So, those were our favorite books / the books we obsessively reread.
What are your books that you constantly find yourself rereading, either because, you know, special place in your heart, favorite characters,
Piece of your soul.
your horcruxes? Yeah, like,
Yeah.
Cabal
there
is
you
my
go.
horcrux. I admit it. I love him.
See, mine split into 2 books. There you go.
Yeah, if you
I'll
want to
live
get
forever.
if you want to get rid of me, burn my copy of Detective.
All right.
There you go. Okay, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye, guys.